my friends, and welcome to another article that has been submitted to me by perusal of one of our members of the RCO. And this article came to me from Sheena because she felt I needed to share this, and it's kind of true. And I do have my two. Oh, fuck it, I have a goddamn nickel for this article. So, as I said, in light of new events that happened yesterday. Yesterday, as we all know, the Supreme Court has passed same-sex marriage across the United States of America. This, of course, has sparked many butthurt, quote-unquote, Christians that believe that marriage should be between a man and a woman. This article that I'm about to read is about a 79-year-old reverend who set himself on fire to inspire, quote-unquote, social justice. And I'm going to have my 5 cents and probably a dime to add to this because I just have words for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and start reading. My 15 cents will come in later. Oh, and feel free to give your 25 cents on this matter too, if you want to. You don't have to, but you know, I just want to hear what you think. And I quote this from my friend 40 Warrior, and he says the following: "Stupid is the new cool. Stupid is the new cool." A Texas minister set himself on fire and died to inspire justice. Oh, and by the way, this is from the Washington Post. One Monday in June, they never said which, 79-year-old Charles Moore, a retired United Methodist minister, drove to Grand Saline, Texas, his child hometown some 70 miles east of Dallas. Pulled into a strip mall parking lot, knelt down on a small piece of foam, and doused himself with gasoline. That witnesses said he set himself on fire. Bystanders rushed to help, splashing him with bottled water, beating the blaze with shirts. Finally, someone found a fire extinguisher. Unconscious, he was flown to Parkland Hospital in Dallas, where JFK died. Moore died that night, June 23rd. Moore's death seemed a mystery. He put a note to his car and left behind letters explaining his act, said a former colleague and relative by marriage, the Reverend Bill Renfro. But his writings were not released for nearly a week. His thoughts are now becoming public. The Tyler Morning Telegraph obtained a copy of the suicide note from Grand Saline police. In it, Moore lamented past racism in Grand Saline and beyond. He called on the community to repent and said he was giving his body, quote unquote, giving his body to be burned with love in my heart, end quote. For those who were lynched in his hometown, as well as for those who did the lynching, hoping to address lingering racism. In his letters, obtained by the Washington Post, he called his death an act of protest. He said he felt that after a lifetime of fighting for social justice, he needed to do more. I would much prefer to go on living and enjoy my beloved wife and grandchildren and others, he wrote, but I've come to believe that my only self-motivation will get the attention of anybody and perhaps inspire some to higher service. That ain't working, pal. That ain't working. Those who knew him called it a tragedy. It would have been nice to have some sort of counseling, somebody to point out that his life had mattered, that he hadn't failed. Renfro told the United Methodist News Service he'd done plenty. Moore had gone to a 2-week hunger strike in the 1990s to move the United Methodist Church to remove discriminatory language against homosexuals, while working with the Texas Coalition to abolish the death penalty. He stood vigil in front of George W. Bush's governor mansion to protest more than 100 executions. He served in the slums of India, Africa, and the Middle East. Moore had, quote-unquote, a conviction that if the Bible stood for anything, it stood for racial inclusiveness, unquote. The Reverend Sid Hall, former colleague, told the Dallas Morning News, "If you were ever on the side of powerlessness, if you were ever on the margins yourself and were looking for someone to help you, Charles was the person. But for Moore, it wasn't enough. I have no significant achievements to offer from that period so that my influence on contemporary issues might have a significant impact," he wrote. "So I'm laying down my life here today in order to call attention to the issues of great human concern." He seemed particularly disturbed by capital punishment, racial discrimination, prejudice against the LGBT community. Okay. Since his death, some news accounts described him as a man who seemed troubled. One asked if he was a madman or a martyr. But Moore seemed to anticipate the response. "There is one thing I have absolute control over. That is the manner of my death," he wrote. "History will decide whether my offering is worthy." Moore explained that his death was an impulsive act, but one to which he had given great thought. Renfro told the Post that Moore left behind a copy of a New Yorker article entitled "Aflame." It was about the Tibetan Buddhist monks' protest of China domination of Tibet. They too set themselves on fire. "I'm sure an act like that is as meaningful to other people as he thought it would be," Renfro said. "I think he became convinced it was an act that would be essential to get the word out. I wish I could have talked him out of it. I just accept what he did and his reasons, and hopefully they'll have meaning and affect change." Moore grew up in Grand Saline, a town he said dripped with racial discrimination, a town the Ku Klux Klan called home. In his letter, he seemed haunted by the past. "When I was about 10 years old, some friends and I were walking down the road toward the creek to catch some fish, when a man called Uncle Billy stopped us and called us into his home for a drink of water, but his real purpose was to cheerily tell us about helping to kill niggers and put their heads up on a pole. A section of Grand Saline was, maybe still is, called Pole Town, where the heads were displayed. It was years later before I knew what the name meant." It was this type of racial discrimination that Moore said haunted him. "I will soon be 80 years old and my heart is broken over this," he wrote. "America and Grand Saline prominently have never really repented for the atrocities of slavery and its aftermath. What my hometown needs to do is open its heart and its doors to black people as a sign of the rejection of past sins. So at this late date, I've decided to join them by giving my body to be burned with love in my heart, not only for them, but also for the perpetrators of such horror." Angie McPherson, who witnessed the self-immolation, told the Telegraph she has lived in her town all her life, and she knew there was still a racial divide. "It's not as big as it used to be, but here it is. It's everywhere," she told the newspaper. The town's police chief, Larry Compton, told the Telegraph that the preacher's death disturbed him in many ways. Grand Saline might have been that way in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, like a lot of places, but today we are a community of different ethnicities and racial makeups. Moore of Allen, Texas, had a degree from Southern Methodist University and from the Perkins School of Theology at SMU. He served as a minister for half a century. And I'm sorry if the fans going on in the background, but it's quite hot over here in Cali. He served as a minister for half a century. When he retired, He received awards from parents and friends of lesbians and gays, and the Texas Coalition to abolish the death penalty, according to his biography provided for his family. Alright. Now, I said I have 15 cents to offer for this. Here's my 15 cents. And I'm putting it down right now. My 5, my 10, and my 15. Y'all can't hear that? I'm sorry. But, okay, here's my thought about this. Okay, for what it's worth, this is what I honestly think about the whole thing, the whole issue. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, in light of what happened yesterday about their same-sex marriages, my thoughts on this should be clear as day. For many years, probably longer than that, but I'm going to say many years. For many years, this community, the LGBT community, has been suffering all this time because they wanted to be accepted as they are. And yet, those in the community, well, those sort of, how should I say this, paranoid in their own communities, they often treat them as though, I don't know, disease, or they're lepers or something like that. And it's a shame. You know, it's no bigger than racism. You know, that is no different than racism that we see to this very day. And as you can see in this article, racism is still alive and well. It's a problem. And I know, because I read my feed on Facebook. You know, I skimmed through my feed on Facebook, and there are a lot of churches who don't like that. The fact that, you know, it's now legal to marry to marry under the same sex. Now, the thing about that is, it's a choice. Most people don't realize it, but it's a choice. You don't have to marry the same sex if you don't want to. It's basically like this. It's just opening the doors to those who want to be happy. I mean, is there such a thing as, you know, loving one another? And if you have feelings for a person, then you should be able to openly express them without fear, without compromise. You should be able to open your heart freely and openly to said person that, you know, you have admired and have affection for all this time. And regardless if it was male or female, you know, the point of it is that well, most people don't like it because, oh, it's impure. It's sinful. Well, let's see. Back then there were a lot of things that were sinful. Okay, there was incest, and I think I said there's things that are still out there. There's incest. There's bestiality. There's prejudice. That's sinful too, because you're hating on somebody just because of the color of their skin. Bestiality, you're having sex with an animal. Incest, you are basically in a relationship with your siblings in a non-family type way. It's like you're in love with them and you want it. It's. I mean, there are many heard of crimes that are even more and more. How should I say this? More and more serious than what's just happened now. I was like, the United States has gone to hell. Again, like I said, marriage now is an option. You don't have to get married if you don't want to be married. You don't have to, quote unquote, turn gay or turn lesbian in order to marry somebody. Actually, you shouldn't have to feel that way to begin with. Because if you love someone, you let them know that you love them. Plain as day. Just let them know you love them. Well, there was my 10 cents. And now here's my 5. I just had to share my thoughts on that. About what this man did. You don't inspire justice like that. I mean, I'm not sure if he was going the Wicker Man method, but that isn't going to work. It's kind of like this. And yes, I am going to step on some toes because I feel it's necessary. Now, I've seen a lot of people I've seen plain people just post on Facebook, they post Bible, they post this and that. But the question is, it's like this. Even if you were quoting scripture, what are you doing about the situation? If all you're doing, it's like this. If you're just quoting scripture, but you're not backing it up in action, you're just, well, spouting hot piss and wind. That's all you're doing. You're just spouting hot piss and wind. You have to shit or get off a pot. And I'm sorry I had to be like that, but really, truly and honestly, you want to inspire justice. This is what you do. What you kind of want to do is the following. Let me turn my fan down one moment. For some reason, I feel it's going to be loud as hell. Okay, I'll just turn my ceiling fan back on. I think it's quieter, but meh. Yeah, it's a little bit quieter. Okay, as I was saying, you want to inspire justice? Setting yourself on fire is not going to inspire justice by any means. Granted, your ideals were noble. But as far as being on the last limbs of life, in the last area of life, you leave a legacy in so many other ways. saying that I'm going to burn myself for the sake of social justice with love in my heart. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're going to kill yourself to make a point. I think after the many lives that have been lost since, I don't know. Like, say, since World War, well, no, I should say this. Yeah, since World War II. Maybe the Battle of Sekigahara. But still, there have been many wars that many people have lost their lives for the sake of their country, their families, and everything like that. What this guy did was, I don't know if I should call it stupid, or if you're trying to prove a point. But it's like this. I have the following things to say about this. A. Granted, yes, racism is alive and well. I doubt we're actually going to get somewhere unless we kind of realize the fact that we're all different and it's okay to be different. And regardless of what who you are as a person, what skin color you have, what sexual preference you have, all that don't really matter. Because if you want actual justice, you don't go about burning yourself. You don't light yourself on fire and just consider yourself the wicker man just to prove a point. I'm sorry, but this to me, as I say, is just basically just, I don't know. I mean, to me, like I said, I don't know what to say to that. It's like, you hate racism, okay. You're giving your body to be burned with love in your heart. Why? Yet you will prefer to go on living with your loved ones. But you've only come to believe that once you do this, it will inspire some to a higher service. I'll say this. I'm in my mid-30s. When I was in Connecticut for the first time, I came across some guy who was an open wide bigot. First time I ever saw a bigot in my life. I don't know why, but I broke down in tears. Quiet tears. I don't know why. I can't explain why it happened. But I guess a part of me just was so angered and upset that this still exists, and I visually saw someone just that stupid and prejudiced before my eyes. As I said before, this isn't to inspire justice, I'm sorry to say. But this is downright stupid. Stupid to a point in which none of this shit should not make no goddamn sense. You're 79 years old. I think that counts as you've done enough. Go rest. I mean, there are plenty of problems in the world. plenty of problems, and we can't even get. I said, first off, it's like back to the same-sex marriage. I said it's bad enough that people are can't get along to begin with because we got racism. It's gonna be, and marriage is a thing. I have to say this because I was formerly married. Marriage is a thing, and if you and your partner cannot get along, let alone if you have kids together, what makes you think that's going to work to begin with? Unless you have the right partner, one who can be understanding and whatnot, who'll stand by you every step of the way, loyal, faithful, and true to the very end, and very supportive of what you do because you support them in what they do. And you trust each other. No matter what happens, you trust each other. You keep that bond. You keep that bond going. No matter what you do. You trust what they do, and they trust what you do. And like I said, it's harder now because, like I said, we live in a world in which you have racial differences as well as sexual preference differences. And it's like these are the new. It's like this. It's a new requirement. Let's just say it's a new requirement, like say driving. You take your DMV test. You take your written test. You have to pass a certain number in order to get your permit. Once you get the permit, then you are able to drive until you can do your driving test. And once you do your driving test, and you do well on it, you can get your license. Now, the new thing is that since more and more people are coming from different parts of the world and they're immigrants, they come over and the first thing they want to do is they want to share the American dream, which is raise a family, work, raise a family, and live off the land. Meaning, you get your pay. You have to make ends meet for your family and whatnot. They're living a dream. I say this, honestly, this, I don't know if this is a wake-up call, but if you really want to prove something, if you really want to say, oh, this is for justice, see, the meaning of justice means you do what is right, what you feel you think is right. Sacrificing yourself to say you're doing it for a quote-unquote greater cause, that's not called inspiring justice. Let's see, what's inspiring justice? Inspiring justice is when you want to go out in the field and either from a military standpoint, you're a soldier and you're out on the field and you have a family you have to come back to. You will fight for them on your behalf. That's an example of justice. You're doing what you're doing for the sake of justice, for the betterment of your life and mankind. There have been so many wackos out there, quote unquote, doing doing what is considered social justice. Me, to be perfectly honest, I steer clear of said wackos. I mean, we got enough with Anita Sarkeesian, their crazy ass. And, well, nobody gives a fuck about her. Only the very few who actually give a fuck about her, I don't know. That's like the 2% of the real world. But to say that this man has seen so many things in a lifetime, yeah, my heart goes out to his family, because he had to basically, I mean, to say you've lived around this for quite such a time. I may be saying this out of anger, but there's also a bit of compassion in this. I said, okay, to say you've been living in a part of Texas in which there has been racial discrimination for many years because of the KKK. You didn't understand what it meant until now. Okay, that's understandable. But that doesn't mean you have to die for it. Yes, back then, there were lynchings. There were, lynchings are basically hangings. Lynchings, crosses burning. Oh, what they did here, it was horrible. What they still do here is still horrible. And like I said, pardon me, but there are so many other things that are more pressing than this one thing that happened yesterday. I mean, we still got racial injustice out there. And it's still like somewhere in the U.S. that people still want to cause mayhem. I mean, there are terrorists out there in our country. And I don't see anybody speaking out about it. It's like, aside from last week that happened in South Carolina, yeah, one crazy white dude shot up 9 black folks. 9 black folks doing nothing. They were just doing what they're doing, praising the Lord, Bible study and all that, the usual thing you would kind of see on a Sunday, especially if it's Southern. And you shoot up, and this guy shoots up 9 people, leaving 1 to tell the tale. And this is a young dude. And we got the goddamn audacity to start whining and complaining about, oh, there's same-sex marriage. Wake the fuck up. Okay? Wake the goddamn fuck up. Because, personally, such as, things like this, I know there are people that are just going to say, oh, these are the end times. No, these aren't the end times. These are the stupid times. We live in an age of stupid. Because, quote unquote, stupid is the new cool. And it's a damn shame. I mean, we got confused youngsters out there who think what they're doing is for the greater good. They're shooting up people of different race because that that hatred has been deep-seated into their mindset for I don't know how many years. Maybe maybe since they were 5 or so, maybe since they were younger. I don't know. I can't tell. And then you got people who are ISIS supporters, and they're young people too. I mean, there are so many problems that are happening in this world that we see the thing that's going to possibly change the country as we see it, for better or worse. Hopefully better, because, you know, it's basically, for marriage, it's basically like, okay, anyone can get married. It doesn't matter if you're of the same or different. It doesn't matter. You can just get married. But aside from that, we got racial problems. We have justice. Justice is a problem because there are people that are trying to define justice in their own way and not the way it should be. I'm just going to say this. The world is a fucked up place. And I'm going back to my previous video because of what I said before. Hatred is such a strong thing. It's an entity. Hatred is such a strong entity because we use it so haphazardly. And because we use it so haphazardly, we don't know why we're saying it. Like, oh, I hate this. Oh, I don't. Oh, I hate this. Oh, I hate this person. I mean, like I said, there's some people out there. There's some people out there who do that because they feel no one understands them, or maybe they want to prove a point, or say, you know, this is how I feel about the world. And to those who have that mindset, y'all need help. Y'all need help. Y'all need to open your eyes on the bigger picture. Just like this needs to be a bigger picture. I'm sorry if this is going to be such a long-winded video, but something like this, it kind of bothers me, and whether I'm going to get flack for it or not, I don't give a fuck. Because personally, I'm going to be quite honest. I don't like reading news. There's nothing good that comes out of me doing these kind of videos in which I'm reading about somebody dying, or somebody doing something stupid, or somebody that doesn't know any better. I'm being real about this. I hate reading news because if it's going to be an article in which it's going to be something that's going to upset me, or basically you just want to hear my thoughts about it, I'm just going to say this. Why do you want me to read this shit? Okay? I'm sorry. But, you know, I may live in this world, but there are plenty of other things that are a problem than this one person. I'm sorry that this person died. Many people die they die different ways. And I mean, they died different ways, under different causes. Many people die from disease. Many people die from people. Others, I don't know, act of God, nature, whatever. And I don't mean act of God. I'm just really upset. No, there's so many things that people can die from. Mainly nature, diseases, people. Mainly that. Or some kind of accident. Or maybe, or accident. I'll just say it like that. But people die almost every goddamn day. One person. Yes, even though we're losing one person at a time. One person at a time. Even though he died feeling that he had to, I don't know, allocate himself for inspiring justice. You just don't do that. You're at the prime of your life in which you should enjoy your life, yet you want to say, oh, I want to prove a point by dying. I want to burn myself. What gives you the goddamn right to do that? You want to actually burn yourself just for what? The fact that the world's fucked up? We know that the world's been fucked up. It's been fucked up for many a generation. There's nothing new about that. Nothing new at all. I mean, seriously. One person dies. Oh yeah, guess what? They did it because they felt they need to do it to prove a point. You don't need to do anything that is definitely not out of character in which you have to kill yourself to prove a goddamn point. I know one thing. When I grow old, I just want to grow old gracefully. I'm not going to just give up my life just to prove a point that all the problems in the world I need to be responsible for because, oh, I've been under this and I've been under that. Yeah, I know. It's racial discrimination and all that. Yeah, okay, yeah. You know what? Big fucking deal. I'm sorry to say this, but big fucking deal. We've dealt with this shit oh so many times in one form of our life and under such circumstances. It's not the first time that anybody been, many people don't want to call black folks nigger. I said, yeah, many people now do not want to call black folks nigger. I know Sheena sometimes, and she would get so upset, she would call me a goddamn dumbass nigga. Even though she's upset, she knows she didn't mean to say it. But you know what? I forgive her. I wouldn't call anybody out of the name, something like, oh, I wouldn't call anybody a cracker, a Jap, a bitch, a twat, a cunt. What's another word? A nigga. I wouldn't even call my friends. I wouldn't even call my friends anything less than their names. I wouldn't even call them. I wouldn't even call them retards. I mean, that's worse than being called nigga. Being called retard is the worst thing you can ever be called, because that means you're brain dead. That means you don't think. That's the worst thing that you could be called. And so help me, if this video did not pick up any of that, I am going to be purely pissed. Not like I'm not pissed already, but still. No, but this upsets me on the rights of so many things that I kind of stand for about life itself. I feel that the purpose of life is to deal with as many punches as you can handle. Try to block and counter most of them if you can't dodge. Do what you feel is right. And I think I'm quoting Bushido on this. But do what you feel is right. You stand your ground. You hold your own. What? You know what? Let me do this. I'm going to actually do this right now, because I hadn't done this in a while. And I think I have something that I've written up in quite a while. And I'm actually going to share this right now. Yes, I'm actually going to do this on camera. I'm going to share this right now because I actually written this up. I have two codes, in which one is the code of Bushido, and this is my code. So I'm going to share this right now. This is my code. This is what I go with. So if you feel like you wanna take notes on this, this is my code. This is my personal code right here. I haven't shared this with anyone outside of Facebook. So this is something I'm sharing right here, and this is my code. I trust God and draw strength from heaven. Harm none. All life has purpose and meaning. We live as we're meant to live. No book or person can tell you how. Focus on the present. The future is not set in stone. Judge only on action, not lifestyle. Whatever you set your hands upon, do the best you can. Understand balance and respect that in all things. Fight in only defense or when the need calls for such. Never in anger. Love your family and friends regardless. When things seem down, talk yourself back up. Stay true to your heart. True acceptance comes from within. True acceptance comes from within. Be yourself. That's my code. That's my code right there. That's my personal code. But this, I live by that code. I eat, sleep, breathe that code every day. But to have somebody die like this just to inspire justice, I'm sorry, but you live this long. And you leave a legacy, and yet you want to just cheat yourself out of living the rest of your life in peace by burning yourself just to inspire quote-unquote social justice. I feel, in the most part, if you really want to do this, and you have lots of experience, you write a book about it. As cheesy as it may sound, you write a book about it. You want people to know what you've been through and how you want to express yourself properly. Write a book about it. If you can't do that, write a letter to a newspaper. Do that, because many people, they can read. And if your article's there, you're bound to get at least a few readers, a few viewers on your side. Or if you can't do that, make a video. We live in a digital age. Make a video about it. It's like there are many social network sites you can actually do this off of. You can do it on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Dailymotion. The list can go on. But all you need to do is just get yourself a webcam, record, start playing, start saying what you have to say. I guarantee you, most people will get the gist of what you're saying. If it touches their heart, you've done your job. And knowing how I am, knowing how I feel about the situation, I respect life 150%. I feel that life is what you make it. As my code states, no book or person can tell you how to live your life. You just have to live it the way you see fit. I feel my Neketsu just went down, so Neketsu is Japanese for hot blood. Yeah, I've been feeling hot-blooded. This whole article has made me feel hot-blooded. But hopefully, this man in the end has found peace for himself. And may God have mercy on his soul. That's all I have to say about it. Anyway, what I'm going to do is, aside from sharing this article, it's going to be in the description box as usual, so you can read it yourself if you so choose to. If you want to skip by this video, I don't mind. Because like I said, I really cannot stand reading articles like this about somebody dying or something like that. Like, I have to say this. Like, I have to say my 2 cents about it. Unless you want to just hear me just rage all about it and just, like, you know, whatever. But now I'm just rambling now. So anyway, I'm gonna end this video. I'm going to work on something more lighthearted because this will somewhat depress me to no end. So I'm going to end this here. If you have any feedback at all, I'm just going to acknowledge it. If I feel like replying to it, I will. Don't worry about it. But I think I said what I had to say. And if I am not said what I had to say, please share your thoughts on this and really the whole thing about what happened, you know, today. If you have any thoughts about it, please share it in the comments below of said video, and I'll be sure to read them. In any case, I've been a Tenkaichi of gaming and otaku. I'm going to work on something else for next month and all my other projects that I still got going. So yeah, with that, take care, God bless, and of course, Tenkai Muso. I'm out. I'm done with this.